Hello and welcome back. So here's part 3 of our study of the Tabula Mundi Tarot by MM Meleen. And this is part of a series that I wanted to do a while ago. And in the time since receiving this deck about a year ago, the Telos Tarot of 777 by MM Meleen was released last October. But this deck has been quite influential for those who have a tarot practice and working with the Doth influences. Of course, we have the Doth Tarot, which is the main go-to deck for those who want to advance their tarot practice or just to study some of the esoterics of the tarot via Aleister Crowley. But with this deck here by MM Meleen, it took me a while to actually get used to this deck. So if you go to the beginning, part 1 of this series, I kind of talk about how I came upon this deck. For those who are just jumping in a nutshell, I really wasn't ready for this deck when I first saw it about 5 years ago. And I was forming a different direction with my metaphysical practice, and it wasn't really quite Doth influenced. But it wasn't until about a year and a half ago that this deck called to me, and it was time to start working with it. And this is taken with a Thelemite perspective. People who practice Thelema, which is a form of philosophy by Aleister Crowley. Everything is based around the will, W-I-L-L, the will of the soul. And so how everything is all encompassing and everything's changing. So with a Thelemite perspective of the strength and the power of the will, MM Meleen takes her background being a Thelemite and infuses that with the Doth imagery and just kind of molds it and shapes it into a very unique deck, which became the Tabula Mundi Tarot. This deck was released, I believe, 2015 or 2016. So it's coming up. I may be off by a year or two. So it's about almost 10 years old. And this deck is still very strong. And in comparison to decks that are coming out nowadays, this is almost becoming, it's a decade old. It's almost becoming not antiquity or vintage, but it's becoming more sacred. And I think decks like this that focus on very strong esoteric images, as time goes on and other decks and other interpretations of the esoteric and the tarot, decks like these become a little bit more special and they become a little bit more sacred. So that's what I'm finding with the Tabula Mundi. I will do at some point the Telos Tarot, which basically takes a different direction. I almost want to say that it picks up where the Tabula Mundi left off, but not quite. That deck is quite a bit different. And so at some point when I get to working with the Telos Tarot to create the video and breaking it down, I'll talk a little bit about those differences. But here, part 1, we worked with the aces and the major arcana. Part 2 was the second half of the major arcana. So I crammed a lot with the aces in the first half of the major arcana, which is in part 1. So part 1 with the major arcana goes from the world, and I believe we end at the wheel of fortune. Part 2, we finish up the major arcana going from the world all the way back to the Fool. And I like, the more I've been working with this deck and creating the videos, I like going backwards. I like seeing what the end result is, and going back with the cards and seeing how we developed that energy, or how one can develop the energy. It's not like all the answers are here, like by going backwards. You're seeing the ending of the film, but we're going back to the beginning. But these energies, we could see the development, and I think it's really important to not necessarily go like from your 2s to your 10s, but it's good to look at the energy of the tarot, counting backwards, going from endings, completions, and going back to where we start developing. So I was going to break up this video into 2 parts, but since we have 9 cards of each of the suits, because I already did the aces, so we have 2 through 10 for these 4. And so 4 times 9 is 36, so these are 36 decans. And I'm going to go through this in one video. So this video may end up being another hour-ish, but I will do my best to not spend so much time and just briefly share my perspective of working with this deck. There's also this book, okay, the book Tabula Mundi, MM Meleen. It is suggested highly to get this book. I wanted to jump into the deck without the book and just kind of read it as it is, with knowing some of the Doth inspirations and influences. But you know what? The book really, it doesn't give everything away. It fills in the gaps in some areas. The book doesn't go into detail about some of all the symbology in the cards. I mean, if that was the case, this book would be almost double the size. So MM Meleen basically gives an overview, gives the history related to each of these cards and their meanings, the symbology, and some of the icons that you may see won't be fully touched upon in the book. So it's left open for your own interpretation, intuitively, spiritually, emotionally, physically, how you feel about everything that you see in these cards. Okay, so with that being said, I want to go ahead and get into this because I'm already a couple minutes in. So I'm going to start with the wands. Right now, sidereally, we are in Pisces. We're in the tail end of Pisces, and we're getting ready to go into Aries on April 13th. So I'm recording this the week before. Sidereally, we move into Aries. So I'm going to just work with the order of the suits that we normally see in the tarot. The wands, the cups, the swords, and the discs, also known as pentacles and coins. So I'm going to zoom in and out as I focus on these cards. So again, we're going backwards with each of the suits. And I don't know if I want to bring the cards up and move them back down again. But anyhow, let's just get started. Okay, so these are the 36 decans in relation to the Tabula Mundi Tarot. So here, going backwards, we have our 10 of Wands. So the wands in the tools of the wands here, the wands represent all the fire signs. So the wands will be in this deck talking about, and we're going backwards. So we're going to be seeing Sagittarius energy, which basically takes us from late fall to winter. And then we have our Leo energy, and then we have Aries. Okay, so they're also going to represent, I'm going to put this down here for a moment, they also represent the different mutabilities of these signs. So Sagittarius is not the mutabilities, but the different characteristics, energies of the sign. So Sagittarius here is mutable. Okay, I don't want to go and repeat myself again and again about what Sagittarius is, because then again, this video would be just never ending. For this deck in here, our 10 of Wands, we're looking at Saturn in Sagittarius. Saturn is Earth, is an Earth planet. So when you have any fire sign, and especially in Saturn, there's a lot of struggle. Okay, fire is moving, it needs space, it needs that air element. Air is relating to space, it's free flowing. It needs that natural movement to be creative, to explore different aspects of this. But here we have the anvil. And so the anvil is represented by Saturn, which we see here. We have the Orphic egg here in the background, which is the center of birth, death, and rebirth again. But also dealing with creative energy. And it's not happening here because we have the weight of the anvil relating to the planet Saturn. It's holding this energy back. We have all the tools here, okay? And we have the wood, we see it being stoked, but we also see it being contained. So when we have Saturn and Sagittarius energy, it's oppression. Okay, we see different representations of the Ten of Wands in the tarot, like just overworked, putting too much on us, on our shoulders, carrying a heavy load, carrying a burden. Okay, so we need to know how to manage this kind of energy when working with the Ten of Wands. Okay, when this card comes up, it's also good to have cards that can support this energy of releasing this. Okay, so we need to see, I think cards like this would be good if there was more fire, more and more air. Okay, because air is what stokes this fire. And this fire can cause enough pressure in this little vessel here to release this and just basically release this anvil. So the pressure builds up. And so it's good to surround yourself with air elements and fire to just really build up this energy. But with Saturn, Sagittarius, it really holds this energy back. Okay, so here's the close-up of the card. Okay, so we see our potential, we see the fire, but it's just being held back. All righty. Our Nine of Wands. Okay, remember, we're going backwards in this. Our Nine of Wands. Strength. Okay, but here the strength is coming through the moon. The moon's in Sagittarius. So we're going to be seeing threes. Okay, remember there's 9 cards. So 3 cards are going to be representing each of the fire suits. Okay, so we're going to have 3 planets and luminaries for Sagittarius, 3 in Leo, and 3 in Aries. But here, what does the moon represent? Okay, the moon is dealing with our energy that's coming in emotionally. How are we feeling this inspiration? And normally we would see the Nine of Wands and different, again, depictions in the tarot. But here, look at the energy of these wands. They're moving upward. It's a bow that we're seeing here. And the message has already been delivered. Okay, and I like how we have the sun here, almost like a sunflower, showing this inspiration. This energy of Sagittarius is being driven from inside. So emotionally, there is this sense of confidence, emotional strength, emotional self-belief in what they're doing. This card represents a very strong sense of self in when they're going to be moving forward towards something. Okay. Again, we have the message here that's being released. Okay, so Nine of Wands, it's regaining the strength. Okay, but also keep in mind with that 10, we don't want to overdo it. We have to be mindful. All fire signs need to manage their energy. The same with earth signs, water, and air. We need to know how to create this balance, because there's too much of one, we're going to be not clear, not focused very well when it comes to doing things and communicating with people in many different ways. All right, we have our 8 of Wands. Okay, so now it's Mercury in Sagittarius. Okay, so Mercury is the messenger. I want to put these two almost together here so that you can see this energy. So remember what I was saying here, the message has already been sent out. It's very quick. Sagittarius is a fast moving sign. They're opportunistic. They are ruled by the planet Jupiter. So everything's expansion, everything is movement, everything is keeping this energy going. It's almost nonstop. So this Mercury in Sagittarius, what does that lead us to? Quick communication, quick thinking, but this energy, because of Sagittarius being fire, is moving this energy in a way that is extending the creative aspect, the vision, the way that Sagittarius perceives things, their philosophical approach towards things. Sagittarius is, depending on their placement in the charts, can be very philosophical. They're always learning, and the way that they learn is by going into different environments, almost challenges. Fire signs like different levels of challenges. Okay, and the challenge with Sagittarius comes with their openness to adventure. They are risk takers. So things move quickly here. Okay, so remember what I was saying. We got to also be careful with too much of this energy. All right. So when there's too much of energy, we want to put in opposing forces to calm this energy down. So we would use something more of maybe water and earth. Okay. Those are stabilizing elements, water and earth. Okay. If you create the balance, if you do the alchemy of a little bit of fire, a little bit of air, and, earth and water, this can balance this energy if it's too much. Okay, so we're trying to create a balance when there is an abundance of things. Okay, so again, Mercury in Sagittarius. Okay, this energy is fast thinking, moving things and putting it into action, but very quickly. Sometimes not thinking. Sometimes the Sagittarius mind can just jump ahead of itself and not think before actually doing. Okay, our 7 of Wands. Okay, so now we're moving Mars in Leo. Okay, now Leo, as you know, rules the heart. It deals with courage. It deals with strength. It's a very outgoing sign. All the fire signs, for the most part, have external energy. Now, there are times that you may meet fire signs and you don't think they're fire because they're more introverted. But that energy, again, is coming from the other placements of the signs and planets in their chart. So you can have someone whose sun is fire, but maybe they're Pisces and Cancer. They're more introverted energy. But that doesn't make them any less of Leo. Okay, so if you see a sign that's known, like the fire signs, to be very extroverted, and you meet someone who has those signs, those fire signs, and they're more introverted, they probably have more water and earth. They come across more not calmer, but they're more like focused. They're more introverted. They're more focused on things at an internal level. So our 7 of Wands, Mars. This is energy of valor, pride. But we also see challenges here. Okay, we have our tower there in the distance, representing by Mars. Mars is the planet that rules the tower in the tarot. But look, we have the dragon and the tiger. I also want you to pay attention to when working with this deck, you're going to see reoccurring images in some of the decks, and this is one of them, the tiger and the dragon. And I believe they come up in, it's not the strength card, but it's in one of the major arcana archetypes that you see these two going together. It could be with temperance, but I don't think that's the card. But here we're seeing these opposing forces. And this card came up not too long ago. I just pulled from this deck and just pulled a one card for one person. And this card came up, and I also was feeling masculine and feminine energy. This is energy we have within us. So it's like soothing, but also awakening our soft side and our hard side. Now this card, you don't see any soft side to it, but the tiger for me is intuitive energy, feminine energy. It's all instinctual. While the dragon, masculine, primal energy, they're both primal energies, but they're coming from different places. The dragon is of taking action. It is of creativity. So this is a merging of these two forces. We have our wands here crossing. We have our main wand in the foreground, just getting ready to take this energy to the next level. Also pay attention to the tower. I'll show you again here. The tower, it's already lighting up. Okay, so we're already seeing the tower. When we see that lightning or those flames coming from the tower represents the crown. Okay, and we have the base of it, which is the feet. So the tower is basically our body. Okay, but here, this energy of valor, okay, Mars and Leo, a lot of creative energy, a lot of movement. You're going to hear me say creative energy a lot with the wands because that's the premise of that force. Also intuitiveness, but the intuitiveness isn't like we know with the intuitiveness of water. This is creative energy. This is not creative, spiritual. This is the inspiration. This is the soul that's moving. So throughout the wands, with this deck in particular, we're seeing how the manifestation of the soul is developing when it comes towards extroverted activities. You know, how we present ourselves to people, or how we should present ourselves in certain situations. Okay, so this is our Seven of Wands. Our Six of Wands. Okay, more Leo and Jupiter. Okay, remember what I was saying about Jupiter? Jupiter, expansion, luck, abundance, prosperity. But here, this energy is a little different. Okay. Here, we have I feel like this is the inner energy of these two, even though the owl is not represented in this card here. But there's a softness. There's no action like we see here. This is almost like the meeting of the minds with this card here. And I like how the flower, I'm going to move this close. It's meeting right at the center of the heart. This is where the connection is. And then we have the lemon scat that's there. So this is about using this fiery energy. Leo is also the ruler of the heart. You know, they are very caring. And here, this is a very compassionate feeling for me with this card. The Six of Wands of Victory is coming through the meeting of our emotional self, the intuitive self, but also the external self. Okay, the owl is known for psychic energy. It represents the moon, which we have right there. Okay. So this is like the balance of what's inside and also what's outside, our conscious and our subconscious. Okay, remember what I was saying about this card here, right? This is all extrovert energy. This is the energy of the soul in action. Okay, once we move from our Six of Wands. Okay, remember, we're going backwards. So this is a beautiful building up, and we have the sun right here where the wands are. But this is just a really nice connection here. The meeting of the minds through the heart. All right, so now we get to our 5. Here we go, 5 of Wands. All right, so now remember I was saying about Saturn? Saturn in Leo, strife. Different kind of energy here with this card. Because this heaviness coming in from Saturn is more of Leo. Okay, so Sagittarius is part man, part animal, but here Leo is the lion. It is full energy, fire, always on the prowl, always looking, always moving. Okay, it needs that outlet so it can explore at a deeper level from the heart. But this is an energy that is boiling over because it's being contained. Saturn in this card here, it'll focus, there we go, is being held back. We see the volcano here. We're starting to see this building up of pressure. Okay. And we see the tools here. We have the sickle, but this is it's almost self-destroying because we see the 5 sickles and they're wrapping around this lion. It's almost like it's self-destroying because this energy is not being able to be released because of this. Right? Remember, we see the sickle in the death card in the tarot, but here it's going against us because of this weight. So it's this building up of energy, the 5 of Wands. It's like it's being held back. This can be through external influences, and the Saturn placement here with Leo can also be self-imposed. It's energy that maybe you're holding back on because of fear or some other challenges that you are allowing to take control of you. Okay, Saturn's all about discipline and structure, but maybe there's just too much force here that's holding this back. Okay, so we need to break through this. Remember, anything that's challenging with an element, you need to put in the opposing elements to soften this up. Okay, I think some water could come in here too, to release this energy as well. We don't want to add any more fire because that could be very explosive and damaging to a card like that. Our 4 of Wands. So here we have Venus. Venus and Aries. This is our last fire sign. Now, you wouldn't think much about things being put in order because we have the ruler here. We have measurements. Things are being precise to be associated with Aries because Aries is such a spontaneous sign and they are ruled by Mars. But here, the energy is different because it comes in with the feminine planet of Venus. Okay, so what does Venus represent? Venus represents what is of comfort for us, what is of luxury, things that are of value to us, money. So I could say with a card like this, is Venus is asking Aries to take that fiery, spontaneous energy of theirs and maybe to um, put some focus on things that are of great importance. Venus is ruled by Taurus as well as Libra. Okay, so Venus and Taurus and Libra, they represent different forces. Libra's air and Taurus is earth. But here with this Venus energy, I feel that this card here is we've been seeing a development happen, but it's this development of taking time and seeing the natural beauty of what you're working towards. So if it's a business goal or a relationship goal or something with you, start putting value with this card here, Four of Wands, so that we could start getting a direction. Completion could be a good word, but I feel like this is more of a direction because we have the compass and the ruler, and these are things that are putting things in a set order so that we can move in a particular direction. And this is what I feel strongly with this Venus in Aries placement here. Of course, we have the moth here, and we also have the phoenix when reversed. So we're seeing the creative energy, the phoenix rising from the flames. But here the moth is almost telling us, because we're also surrounded by the moon, and here the sun. This is like following our spiritual inspiration. Okay, what's calling us in this card? What's calling us the most that we should spend the time in? Listen to ourselves intuitively with this card. Okay, I may have to split this up into two. I don't know if I could speak for another 40 minutes. Our Three of Wands. Okay, so Sun in Aries. We have the key word of virtue. Now, you've probably noticed already by looking at some of the words that are associated. It's similar words that's used with the Doth, that the wands, all the fire signs, seem to have a lot of strong possibilities, right? We have virtue, we have strength, valor, victory. These are all attributes that, yes, they are associated with the fire signs, because fire or wands deals with how we use our inner strength, our inner will, and how it gets released at an external level. There's a sense of pride that comes with this, and that's what we see here. Okay, Three of Wands, Sun and Aries. Okay, this is all fiery energy. We see the horns here. So here, Aries with this decan here, which is the second decan of Aries, we're seeing the energy already forming. Okay, and we'll see when we get to two. This card here, the sun is related to vitality. It's a life force. It's that fiery source, that one primary force of inspiration that's making this Three of Wands the card that it is of virtue. This goes beyond the pride that we see with Leo. There is a sense of almost relating a bit to the emperor. There's a sense of leadership, rulership, a sense of responsibility, I feel, with this Three of Wands. Okay. It's like the role that has been given, or the circumstances that has happened with this card when it comes up in a reading in particular, is taking the responsibility, taking that charge and moving on forward with it. Okay. The sun's going to inspire you. That sun, that we see here, that's your own life force. That's your own vitality. Okay, and with Aries being the forward moving sign that it is, it's the initiator, it gets things going. This is what I was saying, it's about responsibility, it's about taking charge and moving forward. Okay, our Two of Wands, our last one, and also the first decan for Aries, Mars. Here's its own rulership. Also, I want to make mention, since sidereally we're ending Pisces, the third decan of Pisces is Mars in Pisces. And as we end the astrological wheel, we begin it the same way. So we end it with Mars in Pisces, and then we begin it with Mars in Aries. Okay, so it's taking all that energy from Aries at the start of the season and wrapping it up with Pisces, and ending it with Mars and beginning with Mars. It's almost similar like the World and the Fool. Okay. Our Two of Wands, Dominion. So this card here is, if I could use an analogy, the orders have been given to the Aries. They have their instructions as to what needs to be done, and they've been given free reign in a sense to do whatever is needed to be done their way. This card too, when it comes to Dominion, or Mars in Aries, this is something that involves a lot of trust. When we have these words of virtue and dominion, power, this is someone that is being entrusted in a situation, in a role, someone who has been given the power to move forward, because this is a card for me dealing with trust. Okay. Now, dominion, it can sometimes, it can be mishandled, it can be misused. Remember what I was saying, if this card comes up, we have to look at the other cards that are surrounding it. Okay. If there's other fire cards that are around here, around this card, then we're looking at a lot of sense of power and maybe it not being used in the right sense. So it's always good to look at the elements and those signs if you are working with decks that have the astrological signs and the planetary placements, luminary placements in those signs. Very important. It changes the whole structure of the reading and where the energy is most focused on. So with our Two of Wands, I mean, this is very, very strong. We're looking at a sense of control, power. Remember the phoenix? Okay, we're sort of seeing the phoenix here in shape. Okay, it's rising, it's moving to its next tier of creativity, power, so on and so forth. And so, but it's how we use this energy. Okay. For me, dominion, again, involves a lot of trust. So when you get that Two of Wands in a card or in a reading, keep in mind with which deck you're using. This deck in particular has extreme forces of energy, okay, through the elements and visually how it's interpreted. Okay. So that was our Two of Wands, Mars in Aries. Okay. So again, like I was saying, look for repeating depictions of some of the iconic imagery or symbol that you may see in this deck. Okay, because they do connect and they do relate to each other. Alrighty, let's see where we are right now. I think I will split it up into two. I don't want to do an hour and a half. Okay. So we have now We go from our wands, our fiery energy, to our cups. Okay, so remember what I was saying here about Pisces? This is our symbol here for Pisces, Mars and Pisces. Okay, and that, right now, as of this recording, this is the decan that we are in with sidereal Pisces, the 10 of Cups. Also a sense of power. When Mars comes into a sign, the challenge of power, movement, getting things started, and also challenges come into play. But what's interesting here is Mars, Pisces, fire, water. Okay. But here we're looking at a sense of accomplishment. And they're not pumpkins. These are actually the pods of opium. And here we have a griffin holding one of the pods. Okay, so opium, as some of you know, some of you may not know, okay, is the source of heroin. Okay, this card does not deal with heroin, but it deals with the effect of what opium does. Okay. And so opium creates a very dreamlike state, very ethereal. And that's the state of what Pisces is. Pisces is a sign that deals with the subconscious, the deeper layers of ourselves. Pisces, I will always say, it is the most mysterious of all the 12 signs in the astrological wheel. There are things that Pisces just cannot put into words because their feelings are so intense and they're so undescribable for them to explain to people. So what's the purpose of this card, right? The 10 of Cups, we usually see different imagery of this. We usually see a happy family. Things are cohesive at an emotional level. But I want to focus more on the energy of Mars and Pisces. I feel Mars and Pisces is actually, it is a challenge placement, but I think it also activates the energy of Pisces to really get a grasp of what's going on inside, reaching those deeper nuances, but actually doing something with it. Okay, it's like you're doing soul searching, and all the stuff from your past or whatever's happening right now is just churning, and you're having some of the craziest dreams you've ever had. Okay, for me, this is Mars activating the Pisces energy, but Mars, because it's fiery and it's more external, it's a masculine energy, it's this energy that's starting to shift and starting to come up to the surface. Okay, so we have the water that's flowing through here, connecting to all these different pods, but it's a release. We're not holding this energy in. It's starting to come out at an external level. Okay, and I feel too with this Mars in Pisces, this could be how Pisces is being, how Pisces is looking to other people when energy is starting to move and it's starting to rise up. Because it's going to be shaping their subconscious, and once that subconscious has been shifted, it's going to be changing the way that it is seen at a conscious level. Okay, so this is very deep. And the griffin, as you know, is the protector. It's the protector of the soul, of things that are related to whatever it's being protected, like the building, People put not people, but in Europe, you would see griffins on cathedrals, Notre Dame. But this is the protector. I would say the protector of the soul. It's a different manifestation, too, of, I just lost of the phoenix, the rising phoenix. Okay. All right, Nine of Cups. So again, we've got Jupiter. Okay, remember Jupiter is about luck, expansion. Jupiter is one of the planets that is the ruler for Pisces. The other planet's Neptune. So Nine of Cups. And here's our owl. Remember the owl that we saw with the lion? And it was Jupiter in Leo. Okay, so again, this is intuitiveness, this is wisdom. Remember Pisces, this is all deep work, this is a water sign. So all the imagery that you're going to be seeing here with our 3 water signs, which will be Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. We're going to see different representations of the planets in these signs. So this happiness here is like I was saying here with the 10 of Cups, with the release, things coming out in the dream state and becoming more conscious. This is what we're moving towards. This is the development. This is the awakening. This is the lightness that Pisces is exploring. Okay, Cups, different realms. And this is great too. I just noticed this when I was reading about the Nine of Cups, is this makes the shape of the Pisces. I did not even notice that. And here we have the snake hand for creative energy, but it's handing over the wishbone. And we have the ocean, we have the waters flowing. There's a lot of abundance happening here. But this abundance, again, is coming at our deepest recesses. It's a good representation of this Nine of Cups is like joy overfilled. Like it's almost like it's been a long time since you felt like this. And when it does happen, it's something that just feels so fulfilling. That's why the cup runneth over in this card here. So we have this beautiful connection here. The lemur, I'm not quite convinced about its representation with some of the cards here. I could say it could be playful energy, light energy, which is conducive for this realm of what we're looking for here. So overall, this card is light, a lot of release and movement, but at a deeper level. Okay, so now we start again. We're going backwards. Here we go with Saturn and Pisces. So this energy, I'm going to move this closer here. Look at this, completely still, no movement. Okay. So this, I don't know if I can, there we go. To me, this is representation of the Orphic egg, but not really developed. It's like it does look like it is part of this. We have the bow there with our maiden, but the boats run ashore. Okay, remember about Saturn, limitations, restrictions. This is energy here with this card that is basically self-limiting. This is like our potential that we have, we're not using it. Okay. And I feel with this card here, with the Eight of Cups, Pisces knows this. Pisces knows it has the skills and the talent, but there's something deeper that's holding them back. Okay. I did make mention with the wands, and I'll say it with the other cards as well. When Saturn comes into play, it doesn't necessarily mean energy that you're surrounding yourself with. It could be energy that you are placing yourself in. It's like you're self-imposing, you're placing this energy upon you. And that's where this work needs to be done. Indolence. What's holding you back? What's the fear? What's the uncertainty? Here, this is where fire comes in. Okay, because this is earth, water. Okay, and that's going to feel very comfortable too. This Eight of Cups. All right. This is actually my placement, Saturn and Pisces. But as my return is coming, I'm working with this energy. It's actually becoming enlivened. And I think because we're moving into the spring season and into Aries, sidereal Aries, this energy, I can't do this. I don't like this energy of stillness. During this time of the year, things are moving. So some influences of fire is good to be around. We're looking for inspiration to move this energy. But if there isn't and we don't do anything about it, we have this black cloud that's coming in. Okay, and it's filling up a good portion of this. We're allowing this to happen, and we need to make that change. Okay, so Saturn in Pisces is basically weighted energy, sort of getting lost in what you're exploring within yourself, and not taking action and not doing things to make the change that you need. And that's hard for Pisces. Okay, that's very challenging for Pisces to move out of that comfortable realm, of the subconscious, the dream state. Okay, our Seven of Cups. Okay, so now we're moving into Scorpio. Okay, so we're going backwards. Pisces, Scorpio, and then we're going to end with Cancer. So with our Seven of Cups, we sometimes see in the tarot, we see 7 cups, but with different things coming out of it. Sometimes we see dollar signs. Sometimes we see a woman, well-dressed woman, or a well-dressed man. We're seeing all these things that are very enticing. Now, this is Venus in Scorpio. Okay. Venus in Scorpio can be seen as a very decadent placement, because what is Scorpio? Scorpio is all about deep emotions, deep desires. But when Venus comes into play with that, because Venus, again, is things that are luxury, comfort, things that feed our souls. Scorpio and Venus, that's like an excess, emotional excess. It's like you get your fix emotionally on something and you want more of it. Okay. I could say it's a form of maybe emotional addiction towards something, because it's just motivating you, it's just moving you, it's driving you. Scorpio. But also keep in mind, Scorpio is a sign that the deeper things are, not deep subconsciously, but emotionally, when things are really deep for Scorpio, they like that. It becomes an emotional journey for them. They want to explore and see what's there. The planets that rule Scorpio are Mars and Pluto, both fire signs. So we could see where that desire and that drive, motivation towards something, chocolate, alcohol, whatever, is coming from. So with Venus in Scorpio, it just amplifies that energy. Okay. So what do we need to do to temper that energy? We need to bring in some earth. Okay. We need to steady this. Maybe some air. So Scorpio can sort of process the emotional journey that they're going through, but at a intellectual level. Okay. This is earth and water. So this actually increases the excess. And we also see, here, look, it's barren. Very little water there. Because water is what is the element involving Scorpio. But here, because of the excess, it's actually created the environment that it needs to thrive in. It's made it bare. It's like drinking too much water. You're taking this life force out of the desert. Or you're forming a desert with what used to be, a running flow of water. Okay. So we need to know how to balance that, the debauchery. Okay, so we're starting to see the building up to it. That was our 7, our 6 of Cups. Okay. Pleasure. Sun in Scorpio. Okay, I'm going to show you this. Remember, look for reoccurring scenes and patterns. Excess pleasure. Sun in Scorpio. Okay, now the Sun in Scorpio is just that, the vitality, the life force of that sign. So this card is of emotional fulfillment, very similar to the signs with the cups when you reach this sense of joy, like with Pisces, that happiness. But here, happiness with Pisces and pleasure in Scorpio, they're different. Okay, Pisces is ruled by Jupiter and Neptune. But here, Scorpio, pleasure it's like imbibing in what you are enjoying the most, what you desire. But we're balancing it, right? We're not bleeding it dry like this one. Taking too much from the scene. Here we're living in the moment. That's where the pleasure comes in with Scorpio, being in the moment, enjoying it for what it is, but also knowing how to contain it, how much to take, how much to experience, and to move on. That's why we have the 6 cups. Okay, so this is all about, we understand the energy of Scorpio when it comes to enjoyment. Also, it's associated with the eagle of knowledge, of wisdom. So this is almost like a stable sign, the Sun in Scorpio, because it's not too much and it's not too little. They're enjoying the moment. Now look what we have here. We have our 5. Oops. We have our 5 of Cups. Okay, there's our one of the planetary rulers. Disappointment. Mars in Scorpio. Okay, so that's completely dry. Nothing in the cups. The cups are even cracked. The fish has no element of existence. It's just bones. Okay, so Mars, fire and water. This is when we take this energy and we're so overwhelmed with that energy of Scorpio that we're not even seeing the forest through the trees. We're just, this is energy that Scorpio felt was going in the right direction. Like they made the right choices. They felt they were making the right choices, but instead there was damage being done. Collateral damage is what remains here with this Five of Cups. Emotionally just draining, overwhelming to you. This is where maybe Cancer, another water sign, comes in. Cancer is of nurturing, and we're going to talk about that card next, the last three cards. This is where this energy needs to be healed. It needs to be a sense of rethinking, refeeling, Feeling. Okay. What did I do wrong? Where did I place this energy? You can rebuild from it, which we see here. But again, as we're going backwards, we made some choices that weren't in the best favor. Okay. And I hear this with some Scorpios. Some Scorpios, they let the best of them, we hear that term, the best of them, get to them, let them overrun them. And then we start having these issues that we see here, Five of Cups, because they lost control. Mars is about challenges, and you got to, when dealing with fire, you need to know how to work with that element. If you let it get out of control, that's what we're going to see. Alrighty. Our Four of Cups. Beautiful placement. See, this is where this energy can come in. Moon and Cancer. Okay. But think of this here like the large expanse of a body of water. This is the ocean. Okay. Where Scorpio resides and where Cancer resides are on two different elements, bodies of water. Remember, scorpions we see in the desert. Okay, so we see that relationship with those cards, the 5, 6, and 7 of Scorpio relating to that element of the desert and when water comes in. But here, this is the home of Cancer, ruled by the moon in Cancer, 4 of Cups. Okay, because it's ruled by the moon, we see the different phases of the moon, the ebbing and flow of the ocean, strongly connected to the water. Full moon, new moon. Now, the term luxury here, I think this is more of, and we have the pearl. The pearl represents this beauty of Cancer. Cancer is very unique because they are ruled by the moon. So everything with Cancer is ruled by feelings. It's ruled by mood. But again, depending on if you have Cancer in your chart, where it's placed, if you have Mars in Cancer, that's going to be very hard. Sidereally, we are back in Mars in Cancer right now, so it's a little bit of a hard play. It's challenging the emotions, emotional perspective and view towards things. But here with our Four of Cups, this is soothing. And I won't say luxury is a good word, but I would say this is more of the beauty of this card. When you look out at an ocean, or even if you're standing at the foot, or even if you're a surfer or you swim in the water, there's this moment of contentment, of just feeling good in every way possible, emotionally and spiritually. And I feel this is what this card is all about. Our moon's in Cancer, actually, right now. We're getting ready to go into Leo. But this is a beautiful feeling right now. And I like how the shell is open. Usually we see Cancer as the crab, staying within its shell. But remember what I was just saying a few seconds ago? that there's this sense of comfort, of just like openness and release with this moon in Cancer for the Four of Cups. Okay. So it's a sense of just emotional contentment. Okay. I will have to split this up. We have here our Three of Cups, abundance. Okay, so these are the last three for our water signs. We have Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. This is the beginning. Okay, this is our middle decan for Cancer for our summer months. June 20th, I think it is this year. Three of Cups, abundance. But it's not Jupiter in Cancer. It's Mercury. There's our symbol for Mercury in Cancer. Right. So when this card comes up, I describe this as emotional intellect. Okay. The scene is more in the darker realm of things. We have two golden cups, or three golden cups, one that's holding, I could say, a golden orb or egg. That's almost like the prize, but we also have a red, and we also have wheat sheets, which we normally would see with the sign of Virgo. This is harvest energy. The full moon, this is of things coming to fruition, things that have been worked on. They've already been completed, so hence the gold. And the red, I don't know, the red I could say is the life force. You know, this is the energy that we have within us. But I like how we're in the darker realm. This is still communicating, Mercury and Cancer. This is still about how we communicate with our feelings. Cancer is empathic. They're very sensitive. They're nurturing, they're motherly. Cancer represents the energy of mother, feminine energy. Capricorn deals with masculine energy, ruled by Saturn. And so those are the opposing signs. Cancer and Capricorn are opposing signs, water, air. But also look at their elements, or look at their placements of energy, feminine energy and masculine energy for Capricorn. The same with Taurus and Aries. Aries is Mars, masculine energy. Taurus is feminine, Venusian energy. So with our Three of Cups, we're looking at this abundance, but it's coming at an emotional level. This is someone who is doing the work for healing. And it's also the connecting of the heart and the mind with that symbol of Mercury. Very important. This is something that each and every one of us have a hard time doing. We sometimes feel too much and we don't think. Sometimes we overthink too much and we don't listen to our heart. And there are times when I do readings for people that imbalance is very much the essence of what they're coming to the table with me and asking about. It's like, I overthink too much. I can't, I process things more on this side and less on this side. And through the readings I do, I like to work with them and with the cards to see where we can put this energy in the most. A lot of it is that emotional imbalance. A lot of it is also looking at your chart and seeing what's happening. Okay. So with this Three of Cups, we're seeing the strength, that's developing. It is the connecting of our empathic self, but also it's making sense. We hear the saying, it feels right and it just makes sense. That for me is what this card is all about. Everything is all encompassing. If it feels right in every way, and that's your instinct speaking to you, but also logically, it makes sense, and so think about that. Let's think and feel that when it comes to situations, when it comes to making choices or taking a direction towards something. All right, our last card here. Our Two of Cups, and it is Venus in Cancer. And this is actually my tropical astrology placement. Two of Cups. Okay. Very different energy from Gemini that we see, which is ruled by Mercury, and Gemini, the Lover's card. That energy is dealing with a different kind of connection and love. It's more of partnership, meeting of the minds. This Two of Cups, this Venus, is full heart-centric. If you were to take the Lover's card and make it all emotional, these are emotional lovers. We have the moon, full moon, new moon. It's just the feelings that we see here with this Venus and I was going to say Venus and Cups, the Two of Cups for love. We have the bees for hard work and also abundance. The cups, look at this. The cup is just like filling, and we have the sheaves of wheat again. Wheat is for harvest. Wheat is for abundance. But remember here again with this Venus, okay, the meshing of the hearts as opposed to the meshing of the minds with the Lover's card. This is all encompassing. They're becoming one. Their feelings is the motivating factor for this card. And so it's one of these cards that when someone gets it, Two of Cups, and again, depending on the other cards that are supporting the energy around that card, this can be a relationship. It could be a relationship with someone else, but it can also be, and if you're not in a relationship, and if this card does come in a reading surrounded by some other cards supporting this, this could be the connection of your own love to yourself. Okay, we have opposing energies here. Masculine, feminine energy, conscious, subconscious, all of this energy is working together. Okay, so we're seeing this respect, the self-respect to yourself and care for yourself, that the more you maintain that, it starts developing on the outside. When you've gone through something very traumatic and you take time off and you do the work on yourself and you come back, all that work you've been doing inside starts reflecting on the outside. And this is what we're seeing inside. And people will pick up on it. They'll say, wow, your energy is light. It feels really good. And it's because of this. It's because of this energy that is self-reflecting, reflecting from inside, and it's being shown on the outside. Okay, it's a sense of self-love. But also, too, I feel for Cancer, we still need to protect that energy as well. Okay? Because you got to watch out for being overly open. You don't want to be too vulnerable and have someone come in, and because you're so filled with love and joy for things that are happening with you, that someone may come in and take that, and may want to have some of that and maybe drain it from you. So just be careful with this. Okay. And because Cancer is a very sensitive sign, I think they can pick up on stuff like that and know, like, no, I don't think I'm gonna work with this person, or I'm not going to go into this environment because it's very draining. That's why Cancers, for the most part, are empathic, because they know how much emotionally that they can give, because they still need to protect the rest of that love for themselves. They can't give it all away for to anybody, because then that depletes them. It becomes almost like that Scorpio desert, right? You give too much of something, or it becomes an overabundance, and then it gets leached away, and it becomes difficult to bring this energy back, because you gave it away. So that's what we have here with the Two of Cups, Venus and Cancer. All right, so I am going to end it with those two. I thought I would be able to get through this, but with the swords and discs, but we'll leave those other two, the air and earth elements, for the next video. All right, so if you are following me with your Tabula Mundi Tarot deck, if you have any questions regarding working with this deck so far, based on what I've been showing, please leave comments. You can reach me via email, via my website. I also like to see about creating a study group with this, and or the Telos Tarot. So let me know if you're interested in this. I think that this would be great. This is a nice way to introduce individuals to this deck, because some people may just be getting the Telos Tarot and not this deck, or vice versa. They have this deck and they're not going to get the Telos Tarot. I think it's good to really understand the nuances that MM Meleen is creating and explaining in her decks, especially those last two. These two, the Tabula Mundi and the Telos Tarot, are the ones that are the decks that I will solely be working with from Meleen's collection. Those are the two that speak to me the most. Alrighty, so I'm going to wrap this up. We went over an hour, but again, any questions that you may have, please let me know, and I am happy to help and assist in any way. Let people know about this who have this deck, and maybe if they want to go further into understanding this deck, reach out to me. Okay, maybe we can create a YouTube study group to discuss this deck. All right, have a wonderful week, everyone. We're getting ready to move into Aries, so happy spring. And I will be following up with the swords and discs very soon. So again, thank you again for your support.